Welcome to the smoke pit.
What up, though?
Kill it.
Is that your catchphrase,
I
Jamie?
don't have a catchphrase.
We need to come up with one.
All right.
Butt
Yeah.
stuff deploy.
You don't want to be like dude on Free Guy where your whole fucking catchphrase is catchphrase.
Maybe that should be my catchphrase.
Maybe.
It would work for you if you were 5 feet taller.
Insert something witty here.
Boom.
Boom. Mic drop.
Game day bucket go boom.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Boom, boom, Jamie.
Boom, boom. AJ.
So there was something that woke me from the middle of a sleep the other night, and I reminded myself of how unhinged things were back when we were young men during the height of the global war on terrorism.
Oh, the good times.
The good times. And so I was reminded of this game that we used to play. It was called the Fuck You game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we've mentioned this on the show before, but I am 100% on board with talking about it as often as possible.
All right.
It was called the Fuck You game. Jamie, what do you think that game was about before we get into it? What's your wild guess?
Oh, man. I don't know. Perhaps you try to say the most wildly offensive thing to actually get a rise out of someone enough to go, fuck you, like they mean it.
That's generally what I consider being conscious.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good guess, but the rules were simple, all right? And I'm going to read them because I wrote them down, and I have AJ here as my sanity check, so the audience knows I'm not exaggerating.
He's always exaggerating, but it's only for comedic effect.
Embellishing.
Okay, whatever. So the rules were simple. It was only played with people who had agreed to participate. No innocent bystanders.
All right. Well, we got the door locked.
2, the goal is to sneak up on other players and slap whatever object a player was holding out of their hands.
Violently. It couldn't be like you had to like come from like the Lord's Day and come smack that shit like WWE style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a Chuck Liddell haymaker over the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at them, at the thing they had.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
And so 3, anything a player was holding is fair game, whether it was food, cell phones, pictures of your children.
Your actual children.
Anything that you were holding was fair game. The slapper must say, fuck you, when performing the attack.
See, in my head, I'm already imagining, like, wait until you sneak off to the Jack Shack late at night and wait until, like, here you get going and then bust open the door and smack your dick out of your hand. Fuck you!
Like, technically, I mean, you're helping me with that.
I mean, technically
Hey, if
speaking.
that gets you there.
So the slapper must say fuck you when performing the attack. The 5th rule is no getting butthurt.
That's a big one.
Okay.
If you agree to participate,
You can't get butthurt.
you can't get mad. You're
Right.
part of it.
That makes sense.
Now,
I mean, we all know the initial reaction is going to be anger, but you
Yeah.
have to pull from a calm place of stoicism.
and so the idea is that if you bow out or surrender, you can no longer participate
Like, ever again.
ever again.
Okay.
You are
get
excommunicado.
one shot out.
One shot, one kill. If you get mad, if you get butthurt, then you're out of the game. That's it. But the thing is if you're out of the game, you can't attack other players. You're a bystander, right?
Right.
And some of the best ways that you could execute this game is imagine like, so we were instructors at Quantico, and you'd have like your classes or whatever, and you'd be on like your little lunch break, and so you go to the PX and you get like a little tornado or like a hot dog or like a big gulp of a Gatorade, whatever the case is. It's blazing hot. It's summertime, right? And you're about to take that first refreshing sip of Gatorade after this long, hot day, and somebody is just from the heavens.
Like leaping over the row of products and consumer goods, and they like you've purchased it and they were just hiding behind it, and you go, "Thank you, ma'am," and you turn to leave, and you like crack the seal, and right when the seal is cracked, here comes some maniacal like red-eyed villain just from the sky, and it's like, "Fuck you," and you're like, "No," and then all of a sudden your Gatorade's all over everyone.
You know, it's even crueler to let them leave. Let them get that first sip. Let them get back to the range so they can't just go right back inside and buy another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you just come out just like an agent of vengeance, right? You're like, fuck you, pow, and just smack it right out of their hands.
Wow.
That was the game.
Do you remember Eric Hanna?
Yeah, the interesting thing about Eric Hanna is I'm going to tell a personal story now, so that way the audience feels more connected to this random character we just inserted into their eardrums.
Okay.
So he was not very tall. He had a very large pot belly. He was always on remedial PT, but the boy could run like the wind. You've ever heard the term King of Poop Island?
Yeah.
This guy was King of Poop Island when it came to remedial PT. He ran like a fucking 18-minute 3-mile. And so whenever they were doing like Fat Kid PT, like he was just dusting everyone and just like cackling the whole time.
Yeah.
And like
He's smoking a cigarette while he's running.
Yeah, he's one of those people straight up that you just go, you know what? I understand height and weight and body fat standards, but this guy can smoke most of the people who do the standards.
There's height and weight standards, and then there's reality.
Yeah. Like how the Marine Corps told us that we were 18% body fat if we were, I think, for me personally, I was 6'3", anything 214 or below, I was supposed to be 18%. And now I know how science works, and I was like,
Yeah.
where did you come up with this math, bro?
That's just bad math.
Like, did you take math from Marines, or what's going on?
Yeah, that's Common Core shit right there.
Yeah.
which is funny because the Army now expects you to be able to do X amount of deadlifting, but then they don't realize if somebody's like starving themselves, like how are they supposed to be stronger? Because anybody who has ever like tried to influence their physique besides just what cruel genetics and all the chemicals our parents allowed our grandparents to pump into our bodies, all the trans fats and MREs. Have you guys ever like thought about that?
I try not to.
I had
Try not to
MRE.
think about what's in MREs.
I had MRE New Orleans gumbo like 2 weeks ago. I didn't have to. It was just in my desk, and I'd forgot to bring lunch to my job.
Okay.
So I was like, whatever, this is cool. And granted, it's an MRE, so it doesn't taste like New Orleans or like gumbo. But it was actually a surprisingly low amount of calories, just a high amount of sodium. And I was like, I'll drink 3 glasses of water. It'll be fine.
There you go.
Yeah. So point being is this little pork belly could dust the fuck out of most of the guys
Pork belly.
in general, right? And then particularly you put them there with like, all these dudes they're on they just got divorced. They got back from their second, third combat deployment. They're alcoholics. They're like one traffic jam away from joining the 22. Like it was a stressful time, right? The height of the surge, and he's just like maniacally cackling. And like the thing is he would only weigh over by like 2 pounds. So like when the deadline came, when they're like, okay, we're going to reweigh you, and if you don't make it, it's going to be like paperwork and get processed out.
Yeah.
You just go to the sauna for like an hour and he'd be good. Like, dude straight up did not care. Like, it brought joy to him to, like, destroy people in remedial.
Now, was this dude a product of the surge, or was he, like...
No, he was a good Marine.
Okay.
He was he
Tactically and technically proficient.
Okay.
Yeah, he was good. He just had one of those body types, like, it was hard to fight off the potbelly. And he worked.
Get it.
And he worked out like a lot of people do, and he was strong for his size. Like, he was... those people like they can only lift like 150 pounds, but they only themselves weigh 80. So it's like it's still impressive by size.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was a powerfully built guy. The reason I bring him up though is
I was about to say before AJ got us on a tangent, sidetracked. I'd like to know why this is relevant.
I was just going to mention him, give a brief overview of his size and shape, and the fact that he was always maniacally positive, right? And so
Motivate.
He had opted into the fuck you game. Now,
the audience forgot about that.
see,
Here we are.
bringing it back full circle.
I'll bring you full circle.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Throw it back, girl.
So-
Throw it back, girl.
There was in the old Haywood
He
Hall.
didn't even address that. He's like, later.
Yeah, I'll throw it back for you later. But in the old Haywood Hall, which was the headquarters and classrooms building for TBS, they've since torn it down and replaced it with most of TBS is unrecognizably new, but the old one, you had this you'd go in, there's the foyer, and then there's a 90 degree to the left is all the company offices and battalion officers and stuff.
Okay.
You go straight, and it's a long line, long straight hallway of classrooms to the left and right, auditoriums. And along the row is all these different large framed posters of officers who got the Medal of Honor and for why they got the Medal of Honor, which I'll come back to that in a few minutes because that's an interesting thing I forget to mention all the time.
Let me go ahead and put that in the show notes so that way I can remind you, because we are one to just ramble on,
as you're one to do.
Yeah.
So we're in the classroom, and it's a shitty rainy day outside. So the students are in the class. they're getting whatever course from whoever's teaching, and we're all out in the hallway. It's like 5 or 6 of us, and Hannah comes in. And he's got a brand new bag of Cheetos, like the bag that comes, like it's not the little snack pack bag, but it's not like the full size bag. It's the one you get out of the vending machine, right?
Yeah.
And our vending machines were real sketchy. So he comes up and he like rips it open, and I could see the joy in his eyes about how he's about to enjoy these crunchy, cheesy delights one at a time. And he's not the kind of guy who just grab a handful. He would like one and put it in his mouth and like crunch
He's
that.
savoring
He
it.
crunched that motherfucker. Like it was an ASMR experience in totem with everything.
Crackling
else.
the bag.
Because, like, to be fair, if you get something out of that vending machine that wasn't expired, like, you have to enjoy it. You know,
Right.
like if you went to like E7 and hit enter, it just asbestos came out. Like that was just one of the the available options for 75 cents. You could get 2 cancers worth of asbestos.
So he gets this thing, and there's a couple Marine instructors, all of us guys. They're sitting in that section of the hallway, and Hannah had just walked up, so he's not quite in the circle. He's far enough out of the circle, and I come like into the building. It's raining. I'm kind of like taking my cover off and getting the rain off my uniform, and I see Hannah, and I see the bag of Cheetos, and I look up, I see the bag of Cheetos, and I go, "Fuck yeah!" And start running, right, knees to elbow, right, and he's at just like a wonky enough angle to where he's not looking at me, he's looking at the other guys that are telling whatever stories they're telling, and I'm just running through this hallway, and I come up and I do like the LeBron, no, it was Michael Jordan in Space Jam, where he's like, and his arm starts to stretch with the basketball to get to the goal. And I was like, fuck you, smack. He has the Cheeto that's in his hand, the first one, it's in his hand. I smack the bag. The bag hits the ground at Mach fuck. Goes, boof. And it's just, they were crunchies, and they just turned into, like, it looked like a Cheetah Puff round had just gone off. And I was like, I saw the look of sadness in his eyes. And I got to tell you, like, bro, I felt so bad. Like, I felt so bad. I landed, and I was like, oh, fuck. It was like when you accidentally step on your dog's paw. Yeah. And they make that yelp, and you look at them like, that's the worst transgression against, like, the cosmos you've ever done. You're like, oh, my sweet boy, I'm so sorry. Let me play with your face.
But the difference is that's accidental. You did this on purpose to this man.
I know, but
well, he opted into the game. He did it to himself.
But it's also worse because now I know that I cannot show this man empathy or compassion because we are Marines, and you don't do that.
And plus, you're in the game.
And you're in the game. So I just had to be like, bip, fuck you. And his like shit burst on the floor. And I was just like, deal with it. And then I stepped away like I was nothing. And like I stepped, as soon as I turned, I had like the single tear. And I was like,
because of the littering you just committed.
Fuck littering.
Sure, that was it.
Yeah, no, I'm 6% Taino, you know, so I just like, seeing the white man litter my country.
You're one of the 6 that Columbus didn't get.
Bro, wow.
I'm not supporting Columbus. He's
generational burn.
Hey, Columbus didn't get you. Thank God, because he was a war criminal.
Man, this dude just called down my ancestors. Wow.
Really?
Like old Coco reaching back for the chalupa cart.
In his head, he's doing a fucking war dance getting ready for you.
Jamie, did the Army have anything comparable to that game?
So we had borrowed a game from the movie Waiting. Obviously, you know, the one where you show
goat.
each other your junk. Yeah, that was a great deal of fun. And we had so the difference when we played that was we did not wait for consent to involve people. We had some NCOs that were adamantly against it, like if I see your dick, I'm cutting it off, kind of thing. Yeah. And we would target them the most. We were actually so
you were doing the Lord's work against homophobia. Good for you.
There you go. That's exactly what we were doing.
You're breaking down stigmas.
One time, me and my buddy Jonas convinced this dude Cunningham to. He was in. We were both.
Wait. Did you just say come in hand?
Come in hand. We got this guy.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Cunningham.
Yeah.
Okay. Got to do what you got to do, baby.
Logan Cunningham. Can't wait to remind you, Logan. He's an E5. I think we're both PFCs at the time, and we got a couple of to-go plates from the Chow Hall. We were like on 12-hour R&R before he pushed back out. We're in the tent, and we get him to watch Waiting with us. And the whole time, he's like, don't fucking do it. I don't want to fucking play this shit. I know you're fucking planning something. We're like, no, Sergeant, we won't do anything. So while the movie's like, apexing, I get Jonas's attention, and I'm like, move your to-go plate. Pull your balls out. Yeah, no, cover it back up. So we're, he's got his balls out under his to-go tray as we're eating, and movie's wrapping up. Hey, you guys, you want me to take your trash for you? Like, hey, Sergeant, you want me to grab that? Okay. Jonas, you want me to grab that for you? Oh, wow, that's I said something to call attention to it. I waited until Logan looked over. Jonas fucking lifts it up. There's his ball sitting on his lap.
Oh,
Logan
wow.
was fucking furious. Sergeant Cunningham lost his sense of humor.
It stopped being Sarge and it started being Sergeant.
It's like Sergeant. Yeah.
When you pronounce that G, you know you're in trouble.
Nah, there was really in the Army there is no G in Sergeant. It's Sarnt.
I need
sorry, Sarnt.
I need to back up for a moment here because I know that you're a writer.
Well, he did say he was going to back it up.
He did, but he was doing that for you.
I have a couple of back it ups, but specifically to this point, I know that you're a writer with a lot of time, effort, energy, and experience in your craft. And I don't know why you said apex when you know what that part of the story is called.
Climax.
The climax.
The climax.
Well, is a climax nothing more than to reach the apex?
That depends. You could have this. You could have the single climax.
Yeah.
Or you could have that one that looks like one of those fucky roller coasters on like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where it's just like on the top.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? One day AJ hands me his phone, right? And it's got this like weird track pattern on it. And he's like, just wiggle your finger around on it. I was like, okay, that's weird. And I started like touching the screen and making this like weird pattern. And he just like collapsed to his knees. And I didn't know what that was about. But anyway, so what would Sergeant Cunningham
sack
do?
of shit. I told you about
P spot.
I told you that story in confidence.
I was just making figure eights, like doing math equations.
Spelling the alphabet.
You have to ask yourself a question, Jamie.
Yeah.
Now, if there is a sex toy that you can get, and there is, let's not be coy, that is Wi-Fi or Bluetooth enabled, right? So when it's inserted, you can send a text message to a partner, and they can click on that text message, and they receive a screen in which you can like move your finger around to create patterns, which will then translate to vibrations on the toy.
Sure.
Right? Let me ask you a question. How many times do you think that's gone badly for someone?
I mean, I guess that depends on your tolerance for.
I'm not saying the sexual part of it went badly. Like, have you ever had an inconvenient orgasm?
Yes.
You just sound like you had one right now.
Well, no, actually, I had
inconvenient to have one on air.
I had my first wet dream in Iraq.
Really?
I did, yeah. And
That you're aware of.
I would have known.
Would you though?
I think so.
Like, were you clean enough to be able to understand if there was any new mess down there? Because I don't know about you, but it'd been a while. It was long stretches in between our showers.
Yeah, but he was Army.
Yeah. Was it green bean coffees and shit?
No, we were pretty fucking filthy. No, we were already in solder at that point. We were fucking living there.
Wait, you were where?
Solder.
Oh, you said we were already in solder, and I thought you said something else.
No, we had been sodomizing each other the entire length of time we've been. No, Sister City, Gomorrah. It's a lot more fun. Doesn't get all the credit, but still a blast.
So let me put this forward as a thing, and then we'll get back to whatever Dan was leading into that I ruined for him.
It's okay. It happens.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
Think about this particular thought, is that you as a man, like there's certain things that have to happen in order for you to have an orgasm that are very overt. If you had the opposite gender and the opposite bits, like there's a much wider spectrum of how that happens.
Sure. Getting sweaty and taking a walk, riding a motorcycle.
I mean, I imagine. I don't know. I'm
straddling the shifter on a car.
Not claiming to know how that works. I know how to make it happen if I'm doing stuff, but I don't know how it like feels on the back end, right?
Okay.
Just taking guesses as I go. But the real question here is, if you have the ability to have an orgasm when you were doing something dangerous or industrial or commercial, or you were driving a car, and all of a sudden out of nowhere you're like, haha, well that was fun 10 minutes ago, and then all of a sudden you got another orgasm and it comes out of nowhere and you go, oh God, driving a car into the car next to you.
Wow. Well, so, I mean, as someone who's had an orgasm while driving a car, I think I could negotiate my way through that.
Yeah, but you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Because of all the external factors.
Sure.
It's like I don't know about you guys, but I play these little games where like if I'm like out for like a jog, and I'm just jogging, and I'm like, oh, if I don't make it to that like telephone pole before this car, like I'm dead.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And like there'd be times where I'm driving and I feel a sneeze coming on, and I'm like, I cannot close my eyes, and so I'm just like keeping my eyes open when I sneeze.
Sure.
I feel like
I have a bite block for that.
And what is an orgasm but a really slow sneeze
Or a really violent sneeze.
from your penis?
A really violent sneeze.
Achoo. Ouch.
I just can't get over the fact that like imagine if like you could communicate like that, and then like because you know how relationships kind of like eventually they lose a little of like the allure, and you kind of get comfortable, which is nice, nesting monogamy has its benefits, you know. But like imagine if like your partner like just like Morse codes you like pick up milk. You're like, damn.
Oh man.
I feel 50-50 about that, but like, really, you don't trust me enough to know that we need milk? Like, that's fucked up. But on the other hand, I'd be like, she loves me enough to where she knew it was going to irritate me to tell me this, so she did it in the most sensual way possible.
I love that you assume you would be wearing the device in this circumstance.
Who said device? You said Morse code. It could be
Hang
any
on.
number of things.
First and foremost, I would absolutely wear that device. But shit, yeah, no, that'd be a great way to get a grocery list.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they have cock rings that have the little vibrating attachments on the bottoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Oh, have you guys seen the rings that go around the balls that were like designed in such a way to also be like a fidget spinner?
Yes.
No.
No, you haven't. I just made that up.
I'll tell you.
You fucking validator.
I'll tell you that you didn't, and I'll tell you how I know.
Because he has a patent on it.
Because
He's like, how do you know about it? I haven't released that yet.
back in the day when I was married, I lost my wedding ring on a training op, and I got a replacement, right?
That's not what I thought he was going to say.
No, like my mind is just violently leaping to connect these dots now.
Got my finger up, I'm holding it, I'm pinching it in the camera. So I'm at a training op, and I lose my initial wedding ring. It happens, right? I was a boot. I didn't think, hey, she's not here anyway.
Cosmic sign.
Put it in a pocket. Sure. Like the universe was trying to say, hey, don't fucking do it. And I didn't listen because I'm very obstinate to the universe telling me the obvious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. So I lost the first one. I got a replacement, right? I had the replacement, went on deployment, lost the replacement in the middle of a fucking, because I had to yank my gloves off in order to like do something to my saw to make it work so I could like slay bodies like my job was entailed. I probably didn't get the gun up in time or some stupid thing. Like, it's not as cool as it sounds. But I lost the ring because it came off onto the glove. So when I was coming back, I was in a Middle Eastern country that had a jeweler, and I said, can you make me, I was like, let me get one of these. And so he makes me, it wasn't expensive, it was kind of cheap, but it was like something, right, to show that I cared enough to replace it. And it was the metal outring, and it had a thinner metal band on top, so you could literally have the ring and you could spin the part on the inside, like, because people do that, they fidget their rings. And this one would
It's
have
a beautiful camera shot, by the way, right now.
Sorry. Well, I didn't know you were gonna tell me. So, like, you'd fidget the inside like this, and like the inner band would spin, and it had her name in English and it had her name in Arabic, which I thought was kind of cool, right? Well,
So you stuck your balls in it? Is
no,
that where
it's
this
too
is
big.
going?
So 6 months ago,
He's got perky balls, like.
I was perusing the internet as one does, and there is a thing where there's the rubber ones, like, you know, those Qualo, like the silicone rings that people wear when they're like training because it'll rip off instead of
Yeah, I'm
deglove
literally
you.
wearing one right
Yes,
now.
that right there.
Yeah.
It's like rubber as a replacement, so that if you like catch it, it'll rip instead of degloving your finger.
Which I'm wondering why you were even wearing a fucking ring on ops to begin with, but go on.
Well, I mean, like, that's the thing is I know a guy who did, and he lost his finger, and everybody that asked him about it, he'd be like, give me a fucking worker party, because he was a master sergeant, he could get away with it. But anyway, so he's got his fucking rubber ring. There are the majority of rings for sexual purposes are made of silicone or rubber or whatever.
I like how
I
you just said
know.
I was just perusing the internet. They're like, oh, I wonder what time Ant-Man is playing. Cock rings.
Buddy.
What was that old joke? Like, you're never more than like 2 clicks away from something explicit on the internet.
Oh my
You're
God.
not. Like, I've seen Facebook posts where they're like, let's see how long it takes to find out this Pokemon's got sexualized. And like start a timer, then scroll after just Googling the Pokemon's name and nothing else.
Yeah, speed runs.
Yes.
Yeah,
But anyway, so it was one of those things where like
he was speed running.
last night we went to bed, right? And I was like, hey, man, I'm going to go to sleep. He's like, okay, cool, man, I'm going to go to bed too. I was like, good. Actually go to bed. Don't spend 3 hours on TikTok. And like 30 minutes later, he's like sending me Instagram posts. So it was one of those times where I was like,
And just from the other side of the bed. That's
Yeah,
so
I
fucking
feel like
weird.
this was unnecessary detail to the story, but go
so
on.
I'm flicking through the internet one night, and I was like,
Yeah, fidget spinner cock rings. Let's
I was like, because I've seen them before. Like, there's the ones that go over everything, right? They go at the base of both.
Yeah.
There's ones that go over the base of the shaft. There's ones that go over the base of the testicles. They're right. So I'm just like, I see this one, and it's like, it looks very elaborate, right? It looks like well made, like they hired a TikTok blacksmith to make this like perfect like silver elven fucking thing. And I was like, bro, what the fuck is that? And the girl is doing an intimate act with her mouth, which is appropriate, but like her hands, instead of like cupping as you'd expect, she's like flicking the fucking ring. And I see it's just like my old wedding ring. There's a band in the middle that has like little knobs on it that she can flick.
okay.
And I was like, he can't feel that, obviously. This is just for her enjoyment.
This is just to keep her busy.
It's to give her something to do with her mind. And I was like, I don't know how I feel, because she's obviously doing a very intimate, very special thing for him and should not be treated like a fucking dog who's so simply entertained. But I can imagine at some point, like if you're doing something like that and it takes a long time, you're just like, well, I might as well do something with my hands because the rest of me is busy.
So what does this have to do with the paintings in the hall in Quantico?
It didn't, but you were like, cock ring with a fidget spinner. And I was like, yes. And you were like, lion sex shit, I made it up. And I was proven I was right. So there you go.
Well, thank you for joining us today on the Smoke Pit Podcast, brought to you by Aspeto
Wah, 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 wah.
and other companies that probably don't want to be associated with that conversation.
All companies want to be associated with that conversation. They just don't want to get in trouble if someone gets upset about it.
So what did the paintings have to do with anything?
So here's the thing I love, right? These paintings, you'd have like it wasn't a painting so much, but it was like a graphic representation of a moment of combat where some officer had received an award for. They received a
that one
specifically
dude who does all the combat paintings. Like I bought his coffee table table book.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was like you had all these officers, because it was an officer school, right? So they want to emphasize all the medals of honor that officers had
Right.
earned. in the Marine
Officers do
Corps.
some high-speed shit, and
Sometime-
they wanted to honor both of them. Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
To be fair,
To be fair.
Thank you.
if an officer has to do something incredibly badass to bail them out of a bad situation, it's probably because an officer fucked up the planning somewhere.
Thank you for covering that. So I
It's
didn't have to say something
science.
shitty.
It is really science.
It's science.
But here's the difference.
Every
right?
heroic act that's ever been done
Yeah.
is the result of a bad officer planning stupid shit.
You know, they'd be like, "Oh, how'd that?" Like one of my buddies would like AJ, right? Would be like, "Oh, how was the patrol?" Like, I actually have a good squad leader, so it went well,
I did not. My squad leader
and
was-
chaos ensued.
and he was friends with him, and I was very upset about that.
Yeah, no, like legitimately, like for whatever reason, his squad leader liked me. I was a boot, right?
They went to the movies together.
Wow.
Like, talk about an accidental hand job.
Like just the two of you, or
Yeah.
like they
Yes.
invite you along with
no,
the squad?
my fucking douchebag asshole alpha male squad leader, who's probably got a job working at like Ace Hardware right now. This motherfucker
Let's find him on LinkedIn.
walked up to him and said, "Hey, Sharp, I like motorcycles. You want to go watch a movie at the base theater?" And he was like,
No, it was off base. See,
It being off base-
unreliable narrator.
"Off base is worse."
It is a little worse.
I was trying to make you
It was
not
like
feel
one of those things where you're at the barracks, right? And it's like Saturday. I'm on the catwalk wearing silkies, like ready to heave up whatever fucking
You could've-
Chinese that I had the night before.
You could have always come to me and said, "AJ, I need excitement in my life," and I would have been like, "Let's go do a thing." instead.
And then busted out 2 ball fidget spinners.
It's 100%. That would have been entertaining.
Here, put this in. I'm gonna text you.
It would have been way more entertaining than I'm gonna hang out with because. Bleh.
And I'm gonna have to beep that name. Thank you.
Why?
So I'm just on the catwalk, and he walks up, and he's just like, "Hey, Sharp." And I was like, "Yes, Corporal," because he hadn't been promoted yet, right?
Okay.
And he was just like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Nothing, Corporal." And he's just like, "All right, I'm thinking I'm about to get fucking chewed out or put on duty or something." And he's just like, "I want to see this movie, but it's lame to go by yourself. You're coming with me." And I was just like, "Aye, Corporal."
First and foremost, seeing movies by yourself is fucking awesome.
It is.
I love it.
It is. Me too.
You know why? Because nobody talks to you at all the parts that are important, asking you to explain the parts that they just missed because they were too ADHD to pay attention. And then you have to then go back and explain the parts that you were watching while they were talking to ask you questions about parts they weren't paying attention
Yeah,
to.
fuck that. I don't play all that shit. But I like being able to laugh as loud and long and uncontrollable as I want to without someone going, fuck you. That shit was funny. Oh, my God. Have you guys seen, what's it, The Happy Time Murders?
I don't think so.
Is that the one with
the cartoon?
Michelle, fuck, I'm working it.
Elizabeth Banks?
Elizabeth Banks isn't the primary character in that movie.
No.
It's what's her face that used to play Sean Spicer on Saturday Night Live, and she was in like Thunder Force and all
Melissa
those.
McCarthy?
The
Melissa
Happy
McCarthy.
Time Murders
Yes.
came out in 2018 and ran for 1 hour and 31 minutes.
With the puppets.
Yes.
It had
yes, I've
Melissa
seen bits of
McCarthy.
it. I was very drunk. but it
Elizabeth
was-
Banks was in it. Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph,
Yeah. Joe
Maya-
McHale.
Let's
Yep.
back up and give a lot of credit to Maya Rudolph for being just absolutely batshit in the way that is the best form of comedy.
Oh, she will do anything, and it's amazing.
Ooh, I think this might be a good segue. Is there any strap hangers that you guys want to tuck away before we move on?
Yeah, it's when the puppet detective is blamming everywhere in his office and
Yeah.
it's silly strings. So that was in the trailer. I'm not giving anything away. If you've seen the trailer, you know
Yeah.
this happens. I'm in a movie theater watching the trailer for this film, and me and some stranger sitting one seat over were cackling so fucking loud at this scene. Even after the trailer ended, the two of us were still going, and both of our respective girlfriends were slapping, so like, shut the fuck up already. And we're just looking at each other, unable to stop
Just let me be happy.
at this puppet blam.
So just let me be happy, right?
Right?
I was trying to go
yeah.
on MOL and find how many are still in the Marine Corps.
MOL.
Marine Online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, like that.
It's
New,
like RAKO.
well, you know that new army system. What is it like? Here, fuck. I
Probably don't.
I was just thinking about this earlier.
Gravelcamis.com.
Grandma's couch. Mill.
No, this is actually a kind of a good segue.
Steakmouth.org.
No, AJ, please finish your story, and I will have something for afterwards.
All right, so while he's looking at that, the whole thing about the paintings is this: that have all these
Back to
pictures.
the fucking paintings.
Yes, 'cause he asked
I
me.
keep forgetting about the paintings.
No, I love it because what I like to do, and anybody who listens to Smoke Pit for any length of time will know this, is that I will egg him so far down the rabbit hole and then chastise him for being off track.
Oh, I
And-
know he does it. Anyway, so I can get the paintings out of the way. They had these rows of paintings about Marine Corps officers throughout history who'd won all these medals of honor, right? The thing that got me about those paintings is I spent enough time in that hallway to have read every single citation multiple times.
Okay.
Some citations would say on, fucking the 37th of November, such a 19 whatever, who gives a shit. Lieutenant Colonel Buttfuck had gone to such and such location and done, like, it'd be a long description of this valorous behavior. And you're like, fuck yeah.
Slay bodies.
Fucking correct yourself. And so we get to some of them, though. You'd have the painting. The painting would look super cool. And then the description is awarded on this date to this person in this place. That's it. And my theory is I have one of two possibilities, right? And they could both be true, which is what I love about theories.
Yeah.
Is that
It's like Schrodinger's theory.
Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat, right?
Schrodinger's caption.
Schrodinger's officer, both alive and stupid at the same time. So like the thing
Until
is
observed by an NCO.
Yeah.
right. Oh man, that's fucking great. I love that.
We
So-
can develop that.
Yeah.
We can develop a new thought experiment.
We'll work that offline. So you'd read these ones with like these long heroic descriptions, and you have ones that would just say such and such at such and such date on such and such place was awarded this medal, and that's it. No information.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this like Dachau, where they caused so much, like they showed up and so much human misery had been caused, and like it was such a war crime that they don't want to fucking say anything, but they acknowledge that what he did was probably the ethically right thing to do. And they're like, we're not going to fill this out, but here's a medal, right? Bro, you should have been you should be in prison. Why are we giving you a medal for that? Like, what a piece of shit.
Like it's being posthumously redacted.
Like,
But it's one of those things that's
they
like
made Andrew Jackson president. Like,
Andrew Jackson beat a motherfucker on the White House lawn for the fuck of it. Like, we used, like, sorry, I'm going down the rabbit hole. You had a whole thing planned. You go ahead.
yeah, so the Army has implemented a new system called IPSA-A, which stands for the Integrated Personnel Pay and System. This is affecting thousands of soldiers. Briefly, a few months ago, 17,000 soldiers and 8,000 family members briefly lost their TRICARE because there was a glitch in the system. Right now, thousands of soldiers are not getting promoted, and thousands of soldiers are not able to transition out of the military, and ones that have made it out of the military aren't able to get the proper paperwork to allow them to go into the reserves or apply for other benefits.
Jesus.
So we anonymously spoke to a soldier who said that she had gotten out of active duty and she was getting into the Army reserves, but because of the IPSA-A
Ipse.
IPSA.
on a email.
I'm gonna hope none of that was offensive.
It's
Because
Ips
of this,
-A.
because of that, she was not able to get treatment for the cervical cancer that she was fighting.
Oh Jesus.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna need you back up there. So the
Yeah, no, we do real shit at Pop Smoke Media. All right, it's not
No.
just all cockball jokes, AJ. And I watched the town hall meeting that they had the other day, and
every time someone says the word town hall meeting, I have a fucking mental aneurysm.
so I was watching this online forum, and
For me, it's every time someone says the VA's been doing a lot better, I have a mental aneurysm.
Well, I mean, it's not a high bar to clear.
so on this this meeting that they had, they first off started by jerking themselves off and just like, well, we just want to acknowledge everybody's hard work, and so is getting promoted, and so got the bagels this morning, and just want to give a shout out to, and I'm just like, bro, you have people over here, like, let me pull this up, and we need to like have this posted at some point, because this is an actual fucking graphic from this that I did not want to believe. All right, sorry this took me a while, and we can put this graphic up later, and I'll show him first, but look. Problems we are attacking, and it says inaccurate pay causing soldier debt, and it has a little image of a stick figure type, like bathroom stall, like,
Yeah, it's the
man.
bathroom stall figure with a fucking ball and chain, and the ball and chain has
Oh my
a balls on it.
God.
Like this
This
was
is-
shared in an official meeting.
This was an official Army town hall meeting graphic that was shared by the United States Army. Somebody took the time of day to make this little graphic of the dude with the ball and the debt chain.
And they probably thought it was funny when they did it.
They probably thought they were crushing their physical representation. They were like,
this
I take my
system-
job seriously, but I crushed this.
This system has logged over 5,500 hours of downtime, acknowledged by the Army, impacting readiness. Furthermore, disconnected HR pay processes, ultimately pay impacting readiness was another thing. Labor intensive to keep over 200 systems cyber compliant was the idea that they were trying to switch to this, but as a result, the Army acknowledges that their actions are causing soldiers to go into debt because they cannot pay their people on time. Yeah, so I can't imagine, being like an E2 with kids, relying on the money that your service brings in, and it's just man, it's tough. If you guys have not been to PopSmokeMedia.com yet, we really try to bring important stories along with the entertainment, entertain, advocate, inform. And so we're here for you guys. If you're having issues, always feel free to reach out to us. We can do our best. We've been able to impact some real actionable change in the past, and there are a ton of stories on there that you guys may just not be aware of. Like, to bring the mood back up just a little bit more, recently, a woman in Canada got so drunk that she got kicked out of the Budweiser Center, and as she was driving down the wrong way of a road, crashed into a house. The house had a ruptured gas line as a result, exploded, destroying 4 houses and evacuating 100 houses in the area, causing an estimated $10 million worth of damage and injuring 8 people.
Fuck a boot and find out.
The next time you're getting that don't drink and drive brief, maybe take it a little serious, because, you go out for a Marilyn Manson concert, you wake up in jail, and they're like wagging like a moose knuckle at you.
All the fingers at you.
Yeah, some rural Canadian Mountie is like, what the fuck are you, a boot? And it's like, ha 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 ha. That's funny until you charge me the $14.6 million of a damage I just caused.
Speaking of reckless spending, one of the objects that the U.S. military shot down over America is suspected of being a $12 hobby balloon from an Indiana balloon club.
Oh, my God.
Let's put this into reference, right? One of the reasons why we stopped paying for patriotism in Major League Sports is because it was expensive, right? It already costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 to send a team of aircraft up to do a flyover, right? Fuel, maintenance, man hours, like all that kind of stuff. That's what it's estimated, retail. You know what I mean?
Okay, Dan.
Right.
Dan, okay.
Yeah.
So for our new listeners, let's just point out the fact that all those patriotic, we love America and the troops flyovers we had for the NFL and other major sports.
Although now illegal to pay for, we used to pay for them. A few years ago, Congress was like, yeah, no, you done, son.
We used to pay money for them to do that. They didn't do it out of the goodness of their own hearts.
Yeah, out of love for the troops. But now we use it as training missions, right? Like, you got to be able to hit a time on target,
Okay.
So, there's training value in it. However, setting up a team of fighter jets, right? These munitions are extremely expensive. It's estimated that the missile that they used to shoot down this $12 hobby balloon cost $400,000.
Jesus.
I believe it because
I had a zip tie in the buttstock of my machine gun in Iraq. This is the equivalent of that meme that's saying, they use a $32 million drone with a $80,000 missile to destroy a $30 tent.
Or a dude whose life isn't worth a fucking nickel.
Well, you got to remember, even the cheapest fucking small round is like $8,000.
Yeah.
And that's HE, high explosive. That's all it does, right? A thermobaric
Not
round,
even dual purpose.
a thermobaric round, which does all kinds of wackadoodle fucking science shit to the target, is $80,000. You just gave $80,000 to a dude who doesn't make $80,000 a year, and was like, Lance Corporal Fuckface, hit that building. He's like, raw staff sergeant, pew, and it more than his annual pay blows this building apart.
I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah,
I know that's the way.
a brilliant perspective right there.
That is the way I could never think about it while I was in, because otherwise I would be rage against the machine and just kicking shit over all the time.
Well, I mean, how is that different than how you normally acted in Iraq?
Bro, let me tell you something.
So there are
Thank you.
reports coming out of Afghanistan saying that the Taliban are frustrated with traffic, emails, and crime.
Oh my God, are they having to deal with administrative things?
Jamie, how does that make you feel? You went there as a civilian, right?
Yeah.
So, from that perspective, how does that make you feel that the Taliban are tired of running the country that they took over after we left?
You know what's funny is I left Afghanistan, maybe a month or so before it fell.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And, they were closing in. It was getting tight. They were blowing shit up inside the green zone at one point.
Wow.
So it wasn't really green anymore.
It wasn't green. It was more of a shade of pink, perhaps. Wouldn't call it red, but green is a generous term. But I don't know. There's a part of me that it's like, well, fuck you. You get what you wanted. You wanted to be the government in charge,
Yeah.
and you are. Deal with it. And the other part is like, I feel your pain, bro. I get it. Shit sucks.
So there are a few sources that have come forward to vent about, they took a page out of the American book, and now that they're they've kind of separated themselves from the height of festivities, if you will. Now they're bitching about their job online. And one individual named Abdul Nafi, and please forgive me, Mr. Taliban, if I mispronounce that, said, "What I dislike about Kabul is its traffic, and what I fear is its thieves. I keep my pistol on my person all the time after 2 of our comrades were robbed." I would just like to virtually high-five whoever's robbing the Taliban in Kabul right now.
It's probably also the Taliban.
To be fair.
I love the idea that like you've been doing whatever the fuck you want as an insurgent force for so long.
They literally said that, man. Like this other dude said, people didn't expect much from us, and we had little responsibility towards them. Whereas now, if someone is hungry, they deem us directly responsible for that. The Taliban used to be free of restrictions, but now we sit in one place, behind a desk and a computer, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Life has become so wearisome. You do the same thing every day. Being away from the family has only doubled the problem.
Capitalism has come to fuck you in your butthole.
Oops.
Like
The free
Sorry,
market,
bud.
baby. Woo.
Well, that being said, bye.
Bye.